Okay, now we're going to move forward to subtracting integers. Just a recap from the previous videos, that when you add integers, there are two rules for it. I put them on top left corner on the board. That when you add a negative numbers, you have to shift the units to the left side on a number line. And bullet point number 2 is that when you add a positive numbers, you have to shift the units to the right side on the number line. At this point, you should familiarize yourself with these two rules, because when it comes to subtracting integers, these two rules will apply to subtracting integers. So at this point, please get yourself familiar with them. And now to begin with subtracting integers, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so start with something easy first. Okay. 9 minus 3. If there's no negative signs before the number we start with, it is automatically assumed that it is a positive 9. So if you want, please make a note for yourself that if there's nothing to begin with, for our first numbers, it is a positive numbers. So positive 9 minus 3. Okay, so what are we looking at? It's a simple subtraction, that 9 minus 3 will equal to 6. Now, what if I do the same thing, but I rephrase the questions a little bit differently? What about 9 plus negative 3? What would that get us to? To prove our answers, let's draw the number line again. Okay, number 9 is here. Now I'm adding a negative numbers. What should we do? Are we moving 3 units to the right or to the left? If you need to, please refer back to your notes. But in these questions, we are moving 3 units to the left because I'm adding a positive 3. 1, 2, 3. So again, my final answer is still a positive 6. So what are we saying in here is that 9 minus 3 is the same thing as saying 9 plus negative 3. Well, how does that help us in any of the subtracting integers? Okay, here's how we're going to apply the two rules of adding integers to subtracting integers. Let's say I have negative 9 minus 3. Okay, so what should we do? First, let us just come back to the original examples that we begin with. How did we get from 9 minus 3 to 9 plus negative 3? Okay, so, and here's the rule. When you do subtracting integers, what you have to do is you have to apply KCC. Which stand for keep, change, and change. So subtracting integers, use KCC followed by the rules of adding integers. And so that's what KCC stands for, and I'll show you right now how to apply the KCC here. So keep, what we mean by that is that keep the first numbers, change the sign, and change the second numbers. Okay, so keep the first numbers. That's why 9 and 9 remain as 9 and 9. Now I change the signs from negative to positive. And then I change the second numbers. Initially we start with a positive 3, but now I change it to a negative 3. And so that's what I mean by doing KCC. Now coming back to example questions here, let's call this number 2. Negative 9 minus 3, we're going to apply the KCC again. So keep the first number as negative 9, change the sign to a positive, change the positive 3 to be a negative 3. Now what are we doing? Negative 3 plus negative 9 plus negative 3. To start the work, we will have negative 9. Okay, if anyone at this point have hard time drawing properly a number lines that involve negative numbers, so here's the key. Draw somewhere that represents 0, and you know on to the right side it will be positive 1, 2, 3, 4, and on, but to the left of 0 you will start with what? Negative 1, negative 2, dot dot dot. So until here, negative 7, negative 8, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13 as well, something like that. So pick your first numbers. Here, negative 9 plus a negative 3, so I have to move 3 units, but because I'm adding a negative numbers, I'll have to do it to the left. Okay, so 1 unit, 2 units, and 3 units to the left. I end up here, the final answer is equal to negative 12. So I hope that helps. Moving forward, let's call this number 3. Let's say I have 10 minus a negative 8. Okay, so because I am doing subtracting integers, I have to apply KCC again. Please be familiarize yourself with the acronym of KCC. So keep, change, and change from a negative 8 to a positive 8. So what then am I looking at? I'm looking at questions of 10 plus 8. Okay, in this case, I don't think we need to draw number lines because 10 plus 8 is 18. You might think that this minus negative numbers look so funky, but at the end of the day, if you apply KCC, it changed back to the normal math that we're doing, which is 10 plus 8. Now let's take a look at this example of, let's say, -5 minus -7. So again, K, C, and C. Keep the -5, change the minus to a plus, change the -7 to a +7. Obviously, technically you don't have to write that +7, but I'm just writing it here to show that I'm changing from -7 to +7. Okay, so in your homework, classwork, test, and all that, whether you have this particular +7 or +7, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm reading, the second step is -5 plus 7. Okay, so if you want, you can draw the number line. 0 is here, -1, -2, and on and on. Okay, -5 that's where I'm starting with. Now I have to add +7. So adding a positive numbers is moving the units to the right. So in this case, I'm moving 7 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So at the end of the day, -5 plus 7 equal to a +2. Okay. So that's why in the beginning of this video, I told you if at this point you are familiar with the 2 rules of adding integers, the subtraction shouldn't be a problem, because in the subtracting integers, there's just additional rules to it, which is to apply the KCC, which stands for keep, change, and change. The next video will continue to talk about multiplying integers as well as dividing integers.